Hey everybody, Christina here from Creations with Christina and welcome back to another video. Today we're doing a card using the Honey Bear stamp set from Your Next Stamp Company, and I am using my Mini Misty to stamp out my image, which I'm using in using Tuxedo Black ink because I am going to be doing some Copic coloring. My cardstock is Nina Solar White 110 pound cardstock that I cut down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm stamping out, like I said, my image using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. So we're going to jump right into coloring. I did go ahead and speed this part of the video up quite a bit because I am very slow at Copic coloring and you would be sitting here forever. So to start off, I started coloring my bear. I used E23, E25, and E29. For this part of my image, I started with the darker colors, which would be the E29, and then went to my medium tone color, E25, and then blended all of that with E23. I just kept going back and forth between the darker, the mid-tone, and the lighter color to get my really cute soft bear look. But in the end, I actually changed it up at the very end of this, and you'll see that in a second. For the honey pot, I used E31 and E35. I just went with 2 colors for this part, and I simply just blended in the E31 by doing some strokes from the side of the honey pot, the bottom, and then the lid, on the lid too, and just did some strokes going into the middle part of the pot. I tried to leave a little shadow or a little less ink in the middle part to help give that round look. So when I did the E31, I blended that out and then blended in E35, going from the darker part of it on the outsides and then kind of lifting up my stroke a little bit as I got to the middle so that I didn't get too dark in the middle. It helped create that more of the rounded feel to the pot, and I just kind of took my E31 and just shaded that in a little closer to help blend it a little bit better, but I really kept that part of it very simple as far as colors. For the splashed part of the honey, I used Y21, Y23, and E31. Y21, I laid down solid colors. I go back and forth between if I'm going to go from my darker color to my lighter color, or if I'm going to put my lighter color down completely and then go to my darker colors from there. I kind of go back and forth. I found I like the darker colors like browns and reds to go from the darker to the lightest, and these light colors to kind of saturate the section I'm coloring and then go to my darker colors. So like I said, I put Y21 down first, and then I did a little shading with Y23, and then to give it a little bit more of depth to it, I used E31. I found that Sandy Alnock's hexagon chart, if you guys don't have that and you're into Copic coloring, so definitely check it out. She has some great videos on her YouTube channel, and it's really helped me figure out how to use other colors if you don't have things that kind of go in a color palette like Y21, Y23, and I don't have anything darker in my collection that was close to that color, and E31 seemed to be the closest for me. So it really does help me kind of figure things out. For the tag, I used C1 and then blended it out with the blender pen, and then I did the little heart using R20, and I kind of cut out the part where I colored in the B because my hand was in the way, but I used the same colors I used for the honey and then added B000 for the wings. Underneath the honey pot, I wanted to add a little shading, so I used my E31 for that. And this is where I kind of realized I had a little bit too dark of a color on the bear's chin, so I tried to do a little Copic doctoring, and I thought I was in trouble. I thought I had messed it up there, but I ended up taking E31 and dabbing it, and it pulled away some of the darker color but gave the bear this like cute fuzzy look. So for the sentiment, I'm using Wish You a Berry Sweet Birthday from that same stamp set, stamping it out in the Versamark Onyx Black ink because at this point I was thinking I was going to watercolor a lot of the background. Wasn't thinking that when I first started putting this card together because I knew I just wanted to Copic color. That's what I was hankering to do, and I wasn't thinking about what I was going to go with further. So I did the sentiment after I figured out what I was going to do in the Versamark. For my little watercolor background, I'm just creating a little shading around the outside of the honey pot, keeping in mind that I used Memento ink and that will run with water, the color will bleed with water. So I was very careful not to get too close to the pot. I did go over the little splash outline sections there with the water, and it did bleed a little bit, but it kind of blended in with the little shading I did, so it wasn't a disaster. I'm using tumbled glass distress ink, which I dabbed out onto my acrylic block, and using as little water as I possibly can because I did not use watercolor paper. I used my Nina cardstock, and like I said at the beginning, I wasn't thinking that I was watercoloring or going to add any kind of water to this, so I was very careful not to use too much water, and just, kept that kind of light and created a cute little shadow, a nice little shadow with the tumbled glass ink around the outside of my Copic colored image. Once I finished up my image, I wanted to create a little layer piece to go behind my stamped image. So I took some pattern paper. This is from an older 6x6 paper pad. It's a My Mind's Eye. I think it's called Fancy That. I did search quickly to see if I could find it online, and I wasn't able to find it, but I did trim this down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which would be the same size as my card front. And I tried to center it as best as I could so that the darker lines of the wood grain were centered on the page. I'm using 110-pound Nina Solar White cardstock for my card base, 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2, and I just used my score buddy to go ahead and create my score line, and then I also use my score buddy as a guide for helping me fold and make sure that it's straight. I'm going to adhere down my little pattern paper here, and I ran out of adhesive just as I was doing that, so that's all I really needed for this part of the card. So I went ahead and did that. I did off camera, I die cut my bear image with my very favorite Simon Says stamp stitched rectangle die set. If you guys don't have a die set, especially a stitched rectangle die set in your collection, you have to get it because I think it's an absolute must for card makers, especially with all the different sizes you can layer up and do anything, and it's just a bonus to have that cute little stitched edge. So I went ahead and laid this down with some foam tape onto my card base, and then from here I decided it still needed just a little something else, so I went ahead and grabbed my Pretty Pink Posh sequins. My 6mm flat sand colored Pretty Pink Posh sequins threw up all over the front of my card. No, I'm just kidding. I just went a little wild and used a ton of sequins for the front of this, and I just liked how that gave a little extra touch. I'm using my Ranger multi-medium mat for my adhesive and my handy dandy pick-me-up tool that is great for picking up these little pieces, and that tool breaks in half, so you have one end that's sticky and the other end that you can use as a little tool to help you kind of hold that in place while you take your sticky end of your tool apart. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. All the supplies are listed below in the YouTube description and over on my blog if you want to check them out. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new so you can be updated for new videos. And thanks everybody for always leaving such great comments and giving my videos thumbs up. I'll catch you all in the next video. Bye!